I'm always amazed by how close the data can match the real car, and that didn't really used to happen. Whereas today, it feels more and more like a real car. Everything we do really outside of track running is a simulation. Wind tunnel, CFD, and the actual offline and online simulation tools that we have. And the importance of it really is because track running is so limited today. So it means that the opportunities we have in a simulation world are almost limitless. It allows us to try parts on the car that haven't actually been produced or manufactured yet. And these are the important steps, I guess, to delivering performance to the real car on track.
I'm a Mercedes junior driver, and I'm also driving in the sim. We do a lot of different setup changes throughout the day. There's so many things that the team can change in order to improve the car. So before an F1 race weekend, there goes in a lot of work in the simulator. But actually the whole factory is working together. And in the simulator, it's sort of the last step before going to the real racetrack.
Testing has been limited at the track, so it makes the simulator an invaluable tool to learn as much information as we can on a weekly basis. We test 5 days a week, and we also support race weekends as well. And the main reason for this is that we can try and improve our overall global performance of the car and the drivers whilst they're at the track, and we can also help to develop next year's car. So what we would do for a pre-event is to run through a number of different setup options, which could include anything from aerodynamic setup, mechanical setup, and power unit delivery. And then they will run through a number of options with their engineers looking for performance, and then try to optimize each of those opportunities.
So a typical preparation for a sim driver before an event is to try and get the car, in the sim at least, to a realistic balance. By that I mean the balance between the understeer and the oversteer, how the car feels under the braking and traction events. The importance of it really is because track running is so limited today. So it means that the opportunities we have in a simulation world are almost limitless. Before we even put the real car on the real track, we're already going through some of these options to understand what different setup options are likely to do.
So a typical race weekend preparation would involve both race drivers. So Lewis and George frequently visit us here in Brackley at the simulator. We'll start a pre-event session with them where we give them an initial look at the circuit, which we're going to be visiting next. This also allows them the opportunity to get back into rhythm with their driving and try to relearn some of the tricks that they can find lap time and performance over a race weekend.
We'll watch FP1 here at the factory. We'll start watching FP2. And during FP2, we'll typically take the fastest lap from whichever driver, so George or Lewis, and we'll just try to copy their car. It's a fun part to be involved in because I have the actual video of the real car. I have data from the car as well. I have their feedback because we listen to all their debriefs. And with all of that information, I can get into the sim, drive it exactly how they were, taking all the same lines, trying to match our data the best we can from the sim to the real car. Then you're ready to start throwing different setup options at it.
It's very important to replicate the driving style of Lewis and George to give the right feedback. Because if I'm not doing the right thing, the car can feel different, I can experience something different to what they're feeling.
So in order for our simulations to be valid, it's very important for us to close the loop. Their role is very critical in delivering performance at the track. So on a Friday evening, once we've correlated to the track data, having taken wind measurements on the Friday running, we can then look to see what changes we might have for Saturday and Sunday, and then we can influence the balance and setup direction for the car to make sure the drivers are happy when these wind changes come into effect.
So in a sim day at Mercedes F1, we're doing around 170 laps, running different setups and checking the car and making sure that we have the best package ready for qualifying.
So the race support role is really only Friday night. Once that car hits the ground in FP3, there's very little you can do to the car. They're already going through their final setup tweaks, little perfections that you're delivering to the car before qualifying. And as soon as there's qualifying, as you know, that's it, you can't touch the car. We all collaborate. Sometimes the driver has their own ideas and feedback and things they would like to try, and it all comes together beautifully well. And out of it all, I would say 9 times out of 10, wherever we end up in the sim on the race support night, they put that into the car for FP3. And 9 times out of 10, it will work, and they'll be happier with the balance that we've worked on overnight.
We spend a lot of time before and after race weekends looking at the correlation between reality and the simulator, and that is a continuous loop that we can't ignore. So the simulator is vital in understanding issues. This year with the new technical regulations, we had a number of problems that we didn't foresee, but with the help of the simulator, we were able to work on solutions and then bring those to the track as quickly as possible.
We try to find the very best baseline we can, and this is a very important job as we can almost change around the weekend's result.
I'm always amazed by how close the data can match the real car, and that didn't really used to happen. Whereas today, it feels more and more like a real car, the way it behaves, the way that not just the hardware of the sim itself behaves, but the software. And I say both of those have been an equal rate of development in my time here. So that's really allowed me to drive it more like a real car, to get more out of it and to understand what I need to do to the setup to make the real car better. In those 10 to 12 years I've been doing this here, I've seen the simulation and computational power just go off the chart. And I can't imagine where it'll be in another 20, 30 years. It never stops.